We built a wildlife pond with a waterfall, and this is how we did it.
Welcome back to northern Sweden. If you're new here, I'm Danny, a wildlife photographer, and this summer I've been transforming my backyard into a cozy garden. And for years I thought this looked nice. Well, I guess you have to start somewhere. I want to create a space for people and wildlife. And the next big challenge was creating a wildlife pond that can survive the freezing winters of northern Sweden. It is such a wonderful, warm evening. It's around 7 o'clock. I'm just behind our house and there's this lovely field behind me full of wildflowers. But let's talk about the next stage of my dream cottage garden, which is a wildlife pond. I would love a pond where squirrels can drink from, there'll be dragonflies, maybe some mossy logs. Generally, ponds are quite uncommon in Sweden, at least in northern Sweden. I don't know anyone who has a pond, and I think there's a few reasons why people don't have ponds here. Firstly, they encourage mosquitoes. Nobody wants more mosquitoes. There's also water everywhere here in northern Sweden. There's rivers, streams, small ponds, lakes. And also with the cold winters, with temperatures down to -30 Celsius, it doesn't actually make sense to have a pond. I've looked at some ideas on YouTube and Pinterest, and generally it doesn't seem too difficult to make a pond. This is all really a bit of an experiment because I have no idea if wildlife really will use it. So in terms of size, I want my pond to be roughly 2 by 3 meters. It's going to be a round pond with a waterfall, and it's not going to be crazy deep. So along the edge of the pond, I want a shelf where rocks will be. This is where the liner will be hidden, but also it will give this impression that the rocks are submerged and the pond is bigger than it actually is. So as I said, I want a waterfall, so there will be a bucket reservoir on the hill where I'm going to have some lava rocks and normal rocks that I find, which will help with filtration. And in the pond there will be a pump. I have done extensive research and I was looking into the plastic tub ponds, and apparently they're not good for northern Sweden or cold temperatures because when they freeze with water they could crack as the ice expands, and so I'm actually going for a liner. I have already ordered an EDPM liner, and this means that it can expand, and I believe it's like rubber. So those are the plans. I've ordered everything, almost everything. Maybe we'll start digging once everything arrives, or maybe I'll start digging tomorrow. We'll see. One afternoon I started moving blocks that were once a flower bed. My neighbours wanted them, so it was a win-win. I also took out these saplings and relocated them. I literally just planted this line of trees and I forgot to press record, but I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 saplings. Barrier here. I then removed the topsoil, and we discovered underneath there was a lot of gravel. And then our wonderful neighbours helped us dig the pond. And with their help we got a lot done in the first day. I had decided to position the pond here because of the hill on the right that will become the waterfall. There are also no trees directly above it, but I still expect leaves to fall in. Maybe I'll need to buy a net in the autumn. the second day, I started to think more about exactly where the waterfall will go and where the pond should end. The area we dug yesterday was actually only the area the concrete blocks were in, so I now extended it towards the hill. I also realised I didn't need gravel for the pond, so ended up having to remove the gravel I had saved. This is an old ground grill, so I now filled it up with soil and covered it in topsoil. I also found this chunky worm. It almost looks like a beetle larvae. Any ideas? Our neighbour fueled us with bread, ice cream and strawberries, which was so kind. Then we discovered this massive rock, which took us an hour to get out. We were also being attacked by gnats and midges, and we just had terrible bites. We had spent the entire day in the garden, and this rock was infuriating. It was so heavy. Most of it was buried under the bank of the pond, so we later had to fill the soil back in. We positioned rocks under the massive rock to elevate it, and finally it was out.
Damn rock! Took us like an hour.
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the ultimate place to host a professional website. It's easy and you can start with one of the many beautiful templates. Every year I launch my red squirrels and wonderful wildlife calendars on my website, and I love having a special web page for each launch. Last year was an autumn theme with leaves falling down my website. I am aiming to complete the calendars by the end of the month, but I still have some summery squirrel photos I'm trying to capture, and I'm really excited to launch my website with the new calendars. If you'd like to give Squarespace a go, head to squarespace.com/daniconnorwild and you can save 10% off a new purchase of a website or a domain. We are at the final stages of digging the pond. I want to make this area a little bit deeper, and then I need to add like a shelf around the edge of the pond, which is where rocks will sit, so it flows more naturally into the grass. On the third day, I started to loosen the topsoil at the waterfall. I had the idea of creating steps which will help us position the rocks to make the waterfall. I wanted a stream-like waterfall with a tall step at the end which will create a nice fall of water. I also started digging the topsoil around the edges of the pond. Rocks will sit here and water will pool into this area. It will also help hide the liner. Whilst I've been doing the pond, Juan has been repairing and stabilising the arch trellis. In my last garden video, the arch trellis fell in the wind and split into 3. So Juan has put wood on each corner and under the trellis, and we then placed the sections of soil back to make it look like there was nothing underneath. This liner weighed 36 kilograms. It was so heavy, but it's the thickest type I could find, and fingers crossed it will have no issue in -30 winters. We first placed the liner to see if we needed to dig the pond back in, because we were really at the limit with its length. Fortunately, we didn't need to do any digging. We then made some final adjustments to the dug up pit, making it smooth and removing a little bit of depth since we were so tight with the length of the liner. I extended the waterfall edges. and we dug a hole at the back for the bucket, which will hold water that will go down into the waterfall.
You know what I think is better? To go like this and cut it so it comes over, because this doesn't need to be...
The felt underliner went down next. That night it was forecasted for a thunderstorm to begin, and the following days it was due to rain a lot, so we were against the clock. The liner fit perfectly, so we started to fill it with rocks. I had read online that it's good to rinse the rocks with water beforehand, because the extra clay and soil can cause the water to be very dirty, and you want the pond to be as clean as possible when it first fills with water. But we didn't have time, and it actually didn't matter too much. We were given access to some rocks, and so we tried to pick large flat rocks for the perimeter of the pond. As you can see, the rain filled almost half of the pond, and I continued filling it with the hose. We placed rocks around the edge, trying to fit them as tight as possible. I then placed rocks above this final layer, which is actually over the grass. We then cut the liner, and this second layer of rocks made the liner disappear. The next big hurdle was the waterfall, and truthfully we took a few days off working on the pond just to work out how the waterfall will work. Now, what we didn't film because it was raining is that under the last step down to the pond, we placed a flat concrete slab on the soil, and the felt underliner is on top, and this just helped create the final waterfall step. It was flat, straight, and we didn't have to worry about loose soil moving around. The issue we now face was that we couldn't find any decent rocks for the final waterfall. We ended up having to buy 2 large stones from a building store, each costing around $35 US. These were expensive compared to free rocks, but they were necessary to create the waterfall effect. So now we have these 2 large waterfall steps. What makes a waterfall look natural is actually very few large rocks. Waterfalls rarely have medium rocks. They're often a large rock and then lots of gravel. But of course, large rocks are very heavy and would probably require a tractor. I also planted some flowers and plants around the waterfall. And we then discovered the waterfall was leaking. And so after 5 full days of work across a couple of weeks, the waterfall was forgotten about. We also experienced many cold days and big thunderstorms. Look at this weather. It is finally warm in northern Sweden. It is 22 Celsius today, and the past 3 weeks it has barely got above maybe 16 Celsius, and we've had so much rain, and finally it feels like summer. I thought I'd sit down and do a bit of an update on the pond because we have actually not really touched it for a month. And we discovered the waterfall was leaking, and because of this we just didn't finish the waterfall. And so the pond was working perfectly just as a pond, and birds have been drinking from it. Hello, butterfly. Bye. So we fixed most of the leaks in the waterfall. There's only one minor one, but hopefully we can finish it today and I can do the final reveal. I filled the hole with gravel, so it will be easy to remove in the future if we want to return to the idea of having the water reservoir.
Sorry, squirrel.
I just found these orange lilies at the back of our garden, and I have no idea where they've come from. There's some there. They've just appeared. They're not native, but apparently they're quite easy to translocate, so I might put them in my flower beds. I wanted to show you my new favourite drink, which includes homemade lilac syrup, which I made a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, the lilacs have already dropped off, and I only have this much left. Ice, of course. Sparkling water or tonic, and then the lilac syrup. How I made this was I collected a lot of lilacs. I then made a syrup, which is just water and sugar. You boil it, and then when the sugar dissolves, you turn off the heat and you add all the lilac blossoms, and then I let it sit in the water for 1 or 2 days, then drained out the blossoms, and then you're left with this really fragrant syrup. We destroyed the rocks we had glued and filled under the edge of the liner with soil. I then positioned different rocks to make the side of the waterfall. So here it is, the final wildlife pond with the waterfall. The pond has really transformed the garden and has become a centerpiece for this whole area. You can see it from the street, you can see it from as you enter the garden, and we can see the pond from the kitchen and my office, and it is just magical. It was definitely worth all the hard work, and I think the waterfall really makes it. I have decorated it with lots of moss and collected mossy branches and some lichen and some different pine cones, and we also collected a plant from the river, which is legal if you just take a little bit and you don't damage the roots. And this really helps oxygenate the water and actually helps make the water very clean. We haven't had any issues with algae. There was something major that changed from my initial design, which is the bucket has been removed. So initially when I did my research, it seemed like a very good idea to have a bucket which was a water reservoir, and this would help clean the water because I would have filtration rocks inside, and I did actually buy lava rocks for this purpose. However, we were having major issues with water leaking and water being spilled back, and it was just much easier to have the hose directly on the rock and then it just flows down the waterfall. The major issue we had was this area was leaking, and initially we used silicone, which helps direct the water a little bit, particularly on this edge, but here it was just not enough and it was still leaking. So in the end we removed all the silicone and we dug up under the liner, and hopefully that is now fixed. I've already seen the squirrels drink the water from here, and there are also lots of birds that visit. Pied wagtails run around and they catch insects and mosquitoes. I've seen sparrows and magpies bathing in the pond. I think it would be really nice to create a little island maybe in the middle of the pond, or maybe a branch, just so birds can easily submerge their wings and have a proper bath, because it's a bit awkward for them to do it on the edge of the pond. The other thing that really works is the shelf around the pond, because the liner disappears, but it gives a really nice reflection because the rocks are submerged a little bit in the water. Wildlife ponds can really be a lifeline for wildlife. It has been extremely hot in Europe, not here in northern Sweden. If you can build a small wildlife pond, or even leave out a dish with water and some stones, it can really benefit birds, bumblebees, even mammals might come and have a drink. Especially in cities, it can be quite difficult for wildlife to access water, and you can help wildlife by providing some water. I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something. I'm excited to see how this pond transforms over the years. I hope moss grows everywhere and just looks really magical. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.